Creality K1C. Finally, I have one here on the Inventor channel, and I went after this printer because you asked me to make a review about the Creality K1C, and today is the day to unbox this printer and talk about the main characteristics of this printer that promise that Creality is entering on the top rating of 3D printers. So keep tuned and let's invent. This unit of Creality K1C was sent to me by 3D Curitiba, and I like to thank you 3D Curitiba by sending me this K1C so we can unbox it and test this printer to see if it's able to deliver what Creality promised about this printer. So let's start this video and let's open this box and see what is inside. So let's see what is inside the kit that came with the Creality K1C. Basically, it has almost the same items that came with the K1 and K1 Max, but let's see. The manual, 200 grams of Hyper PLA filament, the spool holder to use on the back of the printer, again, the back of the printer, the carbon filter to use. The name is K1C because this is a printer from Creality to be compatible with carbon fiber filaments and other engineering filaments. So you will need a carbon filter to guarantee that you will not be poisoned by filaments like ABS and ASA and things like that. So a needle, a very strange key that I don't know what is this for, but I will figure out. A plastic spattle that it's the same that came with K1. So I love this spattle. I use this every day basically because this is a very good spattle with a very good plastic and practical to use on flexible build plates. The power cord, and inside the kit we have that basic items like the solid glue, a cutter, a grease tube, pen drive that probably has some 3D files to test the printer and to make the first prints, and a set of tools that includes Allen keys and a screwdriver and a special key to remove the nozzle of the hot end. So this is what came inside the kit of K1C. So now it's time to run the first setup on this printer and see what changed compared to the previous versions of Creality K1, like K1 Max and K1. So let's run the first setup and see how it goes. The process here is very simple. On the first step, you select your language. I prefer to select English just to avoid some mistakes on a translation. So I will select English here. So the next step, the setup wizard asked me to double check if I remove the screws from the hotbed. So I just did that. So let's press next, and then let's start the self-leveling and the input shaping process. With the calibration process done, it took about 14 minutes to get finished from the initial setup to the end. And then I've tried to enter on the configurations. So I've just realized that the printer came with the Wi-Fi disabled. So in some cases, it can happen depending on the country where you live. So here in Brazil, we have the Anatel, that it's a government institution that controls everything that has any kind of Wi-Fi or radio communication, like the FC on United States. So in this case, this printer came with the Wi-Fi disabled. So the only way to fix this is downloading the firmware from the Creality website and then putting this firmware inside a pen drive, then inserting on the USB port right on the front of the printer and then update that directly. So this is not a problem, this is just a matter of bureaucracy depending on the country where you live. So I will make a video only about this, teaching you how to update manually your K1C. So keep tuning on the channel and don't forget to subscribe to see this video. So the next step here on this video is to talk about the main characteristics of this printer. So let's see what Creality promised about this new printer. So this is my first print with Creality K1C. As you can see, it's a perfect print, right? So this is not a valid test because I printed this using the Hyper PLA from Creality, printing this on the Creality K1C. So and we have one more factor here. The G code was optimized by Creality to be able to print this benchy on about 30 minutes. So on the next video, I will run other tests using different filaments and different brands of filaments. So that's remember me to ask you a favor. Right now, I will start talking about the basic features and the innovations that Creality put on this printer. So as I'm talking about these features, I will ask you to comment here on this video what kind of tests would you like me to do with this printer and bring you on the next video. So don't forget to comment here and describe what kind of tests would you like me to do. Okay, so let's start talking about the basic specifications of this printer. Okay, so this printer has a build volume of 220 by 220 by 250 high. It's a good area to print. I can tell you that because I have a K1 and I have a K1 Max, and the most of times I'm using the K1 because it's smaller, it can heat faster, and it saves a little bit of energy consumption. So it's a good area to print. So it prints at 600 millimeters per second. It's the same configuration as K1 and K1 Max, and it has an acceleration of 20,000 millimeters per second square. So it's the same configuration, it's the same speed as the K1 and K1 Max. So the other characteristic that it basically still the same, it's the nozzle temperature and the hot bed temperature that stills on 300 degrees Celsius maximum on the nozzle and 100 degrees Celsius maximum on the heat bed. So this is the basic configuration that doesn't change between K1, K1 Max and K1C. So let's talk about the novelties, okay? So the first novelty is that the K1C came with a webcam in the box. So you already have the possibility to monitor, to see your printing happen. It's the same camera, it's used by an artificial intelligence to monitor your printing and stop printing if some kind of irregular action is detected, like the printing is making spaghetti or something like that. So you can use that right out of the box because differently than K1, the K1C already have the webcam. And it's a good webcam. It's a full HD resolution webcam. So on K1C, you already have that built in, okay? Okay, next revolutionary characteristic of this printer is the fact that Creality put full metal extruder inside this printer. So you have better possibilities and better traction using different kind of filaments on this printer. And to make a pair with this extruder, we have a new nozzle. A nozzle that it's a little bit longer, that Creality calls unicorn hot end, that will help the filaments to melt faster and to increase the filament flux while you're printing. And beyond the fact that it's a nozzle that can help you printing fast, this nozzle promises to be less affected by carbon fiber filaments. Like carbon fiber filaments are known by causing corrosion on the hot end. So Creality said that you will be able to print more than 1,000 hours without having any problem with clogging up or any problem with this extruder. Okay, so next feature, as this printer has a kind of new electronics like the new nozzle and the new heater, and I can see that they made some kind of modifications on the hotbed. Now you were able to print using any kind of carbon fiber material. The current build plate that came with this printer is a flexible magnetic pay build plate. I will show you. This one, it's basically the same build plate that came with K1 with a small difference that it's a kind of a flexible material right on the back, and this will be used to clean up the nozzle. So this is the only difference, and honestly I would like to know if I choose another build plate from another brand that doesn't come with this kind of accessory, if the nozzle will clean up on the same way that they did on K1. So this is a good question, and I would like to look at the configurations if I have any kind of option to disable the mode to clean up using this. So the other characteristic here is that on this plate, Creality put a message right here that they say this is only for PLA. But if they're using the same material as the K1, I've used this kind of build plate to print a lot of different materials. Using more specific materials, you can cause very light damages, like seeing marks on the build plate, but will not destroy your build plate. Anyway, you have options to buy build plates specifically for carbon fiber filaments directly from Creality, and I hope they came with this accessory here, okay? And surfing the subject of the chamber, I have to talk about this door. All of you may remember that we had some kind of accidents on YouTube when Creality K1 Max came to the market, where some people just break this door by simply changing the position of the printer. Then the door just open very strongly and then break apart on very small pieces. So
oh, cool. Okay. Well, yeah, I just broke the glass door off of the printer.
Small pieces. So this time Creality put a kind of door stop that it's a very intelligent solution to make the door safer. So they use the same material to close this using magnets. Now the Creality K1C has a kind of sealing foam right here that will help you to keep the chamber insulated and keep the smell from dangerous materials like ASA and ABS inside the chamber. So complementarily to the door sealing, you now have the activated carbon filter that you can attach to the back of the printer. You can attach on the same slot that the K1 already had, but we didn't have the carbon filter yet. So now you have this option. If you want to buy one of this and then you want to use on your K1, will fit perfectly. So just put on the back, and then you can filter the air while you are printing dangerous materials, okay? But I have to make a consideration right here about this feature. That is the fact that the top lead doesn't have any kind of foam tape right here to seal properly the top cover. And on the back of the lid, we still have this kind of hole here where the extruder chain has to fit, and of course the PTFE tube has to get out of the printer to get into the runout sensor right on the back. So all these characteristics keep the same, like Creality keeps the runout sensor outside, keep the extruder chain on the same position, the same size. Everything is basically the same right here on the top, physically talking. So when you are printing ABS, even when you are using this kind of filter, on my opinion, you still have a kind of way to have the fume escaping from the chamber to your environment. It's not a perfect solution, right? So basically, if you are using the MFS on the top of K1C, you will have a better sealing than using the filter and the original top lid. But I will talk about the MFS in a couple minutes, okay? So let's talk about other features that Creality talks about the K1C. So the first one they have on the K1C website, it's something that I already told you. They promise that this extruder is clog-free and they print 1,000 hours without having any kind of problem with this printer. So this is the only test I will not be able to do, because this printer was borrowed to me by the 3D Curitiba, and I don't know how long I will be able to run tests with this printer. So I'm sure that I will not have 1,000 hours to print with this printer. So this is the only test I will not be able to help you to confirm if Creality is telling the truth or they are exaggerating the metrics, okay? So unicorn nozzle, okay, we talk about this. So they have the cooling trio, refining the printing quality. It's a kind of the same of K1, but they talking about having a stronger fun on the extruder. So we have to see this working to talk about its functionality or effectiveness, okay? So auxiliary, fun, standard. So many different materials, standard. Carbon fiber, the C of K1C, it's because of carbon fiber. So this printer promised to print carbon fiber very well and way better than the previous version, the K1, okay? So let's go. Auto calibration, the same. K1 and K1 Max has the auto leveling, the input shaping, auto Z offset, that it's something that basically it's a kind of feature that we doesn't pay more attention with the intention of buying, but if we don't see this kind of feature in a printer currently, we will not buy that printer for sure, okay? So let's go. Oh, okay. So Creality basically adopt something that other printers already have, that it's the quieter printing, okay? So the quiet printer, it's a feature that you can set up on the K1C to make this printer do its job quiet. So you can put the K1C to work and then go to sleep and have a very good night of sleeping without being disturbed by the noise of K1C. So they promise less than 45 dB of noise when the printer is on silence mode. Creality said that they improved the resonance tests and the input shaping calculations, but the most interesting feature that I saw related to the K1C is the fact that now, using the Creality print software, you can remove parts in the middle of a printing job. Yeah. So everyone that works with 3D printing already had a kind of situation like this. Like you put 9 parts to print on the bed, and then just one of the parts just release from the bed, and then you have to cancel the entire printing and then start over again. Now you can select through the Creality Print which part you want to stop printing, and then the printer will keep doing the job with the other parts, ignoring the part that failed. So this is amazing. I haven't tested that yet, but I'm crossing my fingers to that feature work with the K1 and K1 Max, because I already had those two printers. I hope Creality to do that for all the printers of this series, not only for K1C. Creality, don't do that with me. I have 3 of this here, so help me put this feature on K1 and K1 Max, okay? So now let's talk about something that you have asking me for weeks now. So does the MFS fit on K1C? And can I use the same MFS on K1C? Let's see together, okay? Let's test this together right now. So don't forget, after removing your top lead, don't forget to remove the screws you have right on the top of K1C. It's the same as the K1, so this screw holes you will need to fix your MFS on the top of K1C. So let's take this one from K1, and it's basically the same structure. It's basically the same printer. So even the sensor position to make the wire get out from the chamber, the entering of the PTFE tube, everything, it's the same. It's perfect. You can use the MFS for K1 on K1C. And now you have a fully sealed chamber, because on MFS you have the possibility to put the foam tape on the door and at the top window, so you can control your heat flow from the chamber better with the MFS, and you can use up to 3 different filament holes inside the MFS and keep them dried while you are printing. This is awesome. I love it. So with the awesome news of having MFS fitting on top of K1C perfectly, the only thing that I have to ask you is, don't forget to comment here and tell me what kind of tests you would like me to do with K1C. And don't forget that we are on Instagram, so I will let the link at the description so you can click and follow us on Instagram. We are posting content every day. So subscribe to see the next video about Creality K1C, and let's keep inventing.